Good day mga ka-SYETEMAZING! Welcome to our show where you can explore the wonders of science. This is Richard Nash Mercadal.
And this is Joanna Marie B. Dagatan. For today's episode, we will be discovering some concept of science, specifically the evolution of domesticated crops, specific application of acid base, and rich context problem using concepts from pressure.
Alright, for the first segment, we'll be having a talk with a science expert to explain the evolution of a domesticated crop. It is a crop that is known for its reddish color, soft texture, and juicy taste.
Others might say that this crop is a vegetable, but in reality, it is a fruit. What do you think it is, mga ka-SYETEMAZING? Absolutely, it is indeed a tomato. So without further ado, let us introduce our guest for this episode. He graduated Bachelor of Science in Agriculture at University of the Philippines, Diliman.
And he is currently the company head of Del Monte Philippines Incorporated and the lead researcher of the study on crop domestication. Please help us welcome Mr. Melvin Motasam.
Welcome to our show, Mr. Melvin, and thank you for extending your time and effort to have a significant talk for this episode.
And despite having a busy schedule, you still accepted our invitation to have you as our guest for today.
Yes, what's up mga ka-SYETEMAZING and to our host, thank you for inviting me for this segment. It's an honor to have me as your guest and to give me the opportunity to share my knowledge and expertise for this moment.
To start, how's life been running recently, Mr. Melvin? Can you tell us what's going on at the moment, your works and endeavors?
Well, I am running as the company head of one of the biggest market leaders in packaged pineapple juice and tomato sauces, which is the Del Monte Philippines Incorporated. Currently, I am the lead researcher of our study that focuses on crop domestication, specifically for tomatoes.
Wow, that's interesting to know. We can tell that you've come a long way and achieved far in your life just by looking at your background and accomplishments.
I agree with you, Nash. Today is also the right moment since we will talk about the evolution of domesticated tomatoes. We know you have a lot to share with us and we can't wait to know all of them.
To start off, can you tell us what you know about the domestication of crops?
Crop domestication is the process of artificially selecting plants to increase their suitability to human requirements. That includes taste, yield, storage, and cultivation practices. Some examples of domesticated crops other than tomatoes are corn, wheat, banana, and many more.
Oh, is that so? Now that we know the concept of crop domestication, can you tell us more about where tomatoes roam?
Tomatoes are the most commonly planted garden crops in the Philippines, as evidenced by the wide range of tomato plants available in the garden centers every year. Tomatoes belong to the genus Solanum within the large and diverse Solanaceae family. All cultivated varieties of tomato are derived from a single species called Solanum lycopersicum.
I didn't know that tomatoes have a wide variety. You have mentioned that tomatoes are product of domestication. Can you tell us how were tomatoes domesticated?
All I can say is that modern tomatoes are very different from their wild ancestors. Previously, it was believed that tomato domestication began with the cultivation of blueberry-sized fruits of wild tomato ancestors from 7,000 years ago in South America. After breeding to produce somewhat larger fruits, about cherry tomato size, these were further domesticated in Mesoamerica to produce modern-sized tomatoes.
I have also heard that most people would probably say that tomatoes in the early times are much smaller than tomatoes that we get used today.
Well, aside from those, are there any modifications being done to this crop?
Yes, there is this thing called genetic engineering. Genetic modification of plants involves adding a specific stretch of DNA into the plant's genome, giving it a new, different characteristic. It could include changing the way the plant grows from its size, such as from wild small tomatoes to modern bigger tomatoes.
Really? I didn't know that was possible. Indeed, advanced human technology has paved the way for modern applications and conditions. Back to the tomatoes, what can you say about their modern variety?
Today, the tomato is not only the most popular garden vegetable in the Philippines, but it is cultivated in nearly every country around the planet with a sufficient growing season.
Absolutely. With all the things you imparted, my primary and fundamental takeaway is that domestication and further crop evolution have changed physical plant features.
Me as well. I learned that crops and their wild ancestors show contrasting traits, including their size, which this trait might influence yield and other ecosystem services of croplands.
So that comes to an end for the first segment. We hope mga ka-SYETEMAZING that you have learned something from this talk show.
Again, we would like to thank Mr. Melvin Motasam for having you as our guest for today and allowing us to know about domestication of tomatoes. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you also Nash and Joanna, and to all the SYETEMAZINGs out there that stayed with us until the end of this segment. I hope that you have gained knowledge about this topic.
Alright, sit back and relax mga ka-SYETEMAZING, for we will be proceeding to the next segment of this program. But before that, allow us to present this advertisement.
Let's discover, let's explore your creation and so much more. It's exciting, can't wait to see what you have in store. Surrounded by waves of your mystery, Lord, show me what you want me to be. Let's go deep, 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 deep as the ocean blue. Deep, 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 deep in my faith with you. Deep, 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 deep in my heart I see your love is endlessly deeper than the sea.
Hello mga ka-SYETEMAZING! Welcome back to our show, where you can explore the wonders of science. This is Charlene Tillo.
And this is James Patrick Dela Torre.
For this segment, we will be doing an experiment for acid base.
So, put on your personal protective equipment as we go on with our activity today.
But before anything else, let us ponder to this question.
How will you know if a mixture is acidic or basic?
Well, simply, you will distinguish between acidic or basic mixtures based on their color reactions to an indicator.
Speaking of an indicator, it is a dye that changes into a different color depending on whether it is an acid or base. At this moment, we will make our pH indicator solution from a red cabbage juice.
Note that each indicator has a varied pH level scale.
For red cabbage, please refer to this picture.
So much for that, let us go directly to our experiment. For the materials, you will need an induction cooker, casserole, knife and chopping board, or you can use a food processor, a strainer, cups, red cabbage, and a series of household items such as calamansi juice, vinegar, coffee, milk, pure water, baking soda, cola, bleach, soapy water, and hydrogen peroxide. For the procedure, cut the red cabbage into small pieces using a knife. Next, put water in the casserole and boil it using the induction cooker. After that, when the water began to boil, put the red cabbage in the casserole. Then, turn off the induction cooker and allow it to cool for a few minutes. Drain the liquid from the mixture using a strainer. Set aside your indicator solution. You will use it as your stock solution for your experiments. Next, you will test various household solutions with your indicator. To do this, use a separate cup for each solution.
After putting the indicator, the color of the substances change, and based on the pH level scale, Soapy water has a pH level of 9, which indicates that it is basic. Calamansi has a pH level of 2, which indicates that it is acidic. Coffee has a pH level of 5, which indicates that it is acidic. Cola has a pH level of 3, which indicates that it is acidic. Hydrogen peroxide has a pH level of 14, which indicates that it is basic. Bleach has a pH level of 13, which indicates that it is basic. Baking soda has a pH level of 10, which indicates that it is basic. Water has a pH level of 7, which indicates that it is neutral. Vinegar has a pH level of 2, which indicates that it is acidic. Milk has a pH level of 6, which indicates that it is acidic. If you are wondering how it works, well, red cabbage contains a pigment molecule called flavin, an anthocyanin.
That comes at the end of the second segment. We really hope that you have gained some insight from this experiment, mga ka-SYETEMAZING.
Alright mga ka-SYETEMAZING, please sit back and unwind as we go to the last portion of this show. But before that, let us present this advertisement.
Ano bang meron sa panahon? Bakit nga ba ganun? Ang galaw ng mga ulap. Mababago ba ang sistema ng lipunang may problema? May sagot dyan ang siyeta. Hashtag ng DOST, ang National Science and Technology Week. Madaming opportunities, contest, webinars, exhibits. Buksan ang isip sa science and technology.
Hello mga ka-SYETEMAZING! Welcome back to our show where you can explore the wonders of science. This is Joshua Emerson Manzanares.
And this is Aleon. For this segment, we will be explaining to you the concept of Bernoulli's principle.
Well, when talking about Bernoulli's principle, it is a fundamental concept in fluid dynamics that relates pressure, speed, and height.
Specifically, it states that an increase in speed of fluid occurs simultaneously with a decrease in static pressure or decrease in the fluid's potential energy.
So for the first experiment, we have the cup of water experiment. You will need to prepare a glass of water and also a bendable straw that is cut up in half. As you blow through the straw, the water will rise to the other straw in the cup, spraying away from the stream of air being blown across the straw. The reason for this is that the faster moving air over the top of the straw creates an area of low pressure, while the pressure on the surface of the water remains unchanged. Therefore, the water is drawn up the straw because of the area of low pressure.
The next experiment, we have the soda can experiment. All you need to prepare is 2 empty soda cans and a straw. This experiment can also explain Bernoulli's principle. By blowing between the 2 cans, you are making the air between them move faster than the surrounding air. The can move together as the higher pressure surrounding the 2 cans, which is away from the airflow, pushes the cans together toward the region of the lower pressure.
So for the third experiment, we have the 2 sheets of paper experiment. So in this experiment, you will need 2 sheets of paper that are taped on separate sticks to form a flag. By blowing between the 2 sheets of paper, you are supplying a high speed of air, which reduces the pressure between them. The sheets of paper seem to come with each other because the high atmospheric pressure around them tends to push them together.
For the fourth experiment is a paper blowing experiment. All you need is a long sheet of paper. As we forcefully blow air on the top of the paper, it tends to move up or rise towards the airflow. The reason behind this is that blowing can create high-speed air, which also results in low pressure. Then the bottom part of the paper that has a high pressure tends to push the paper upward, allowing it to rise. That comes at the end of the last segment. We really hope that you have gained some insights from these experiments.
With that being said, we are now also ending our program. We thank the people behind this successful event, especially to all SYETEMAZING out there that stayed with us until the end of this program.
See you next time here at SYETEMAZING, where you can learn the wonders of science.
Goodbye mga ka-SYETEMAZING! See you all!